The demon wolf is not evil, unless the man he has bitten is evil. Hello, here's Movie Fanatic Nate coming at you to do another movie review. Coming at you this time to review the movie from 1994 with Nicholson, Pfeiffer in Wolf. This is a movie that I had known about ever since it came out, or maybe 95 or something like that. I didn't see it in the theater, but I was interested in it at the time, and I'd see it later on after the fact on home video. And it's a movie that I kind of always really liked, and I actually just dug it out. I remember I was sitting around and I remember thinking I really liked the beginning of it, like the opening credits and stuff, because it's all wintry, and for some reason I have this idea that this movie's a winter movie, but it's just like the opening scene is the only winter scene. It takes place, I think, in March in the spring or something, and the only scene in the movie is winter. You know me, that I like to try to review kind of winter related movies at the winter time if possible, so I thought of this, and I rewatched it, and I'm like, gosh dang, that's a really good movie. I love how it starts with that just very, distant shot of the car on the road, and the music is absolutely fantastic, done by, I want to say it's, the Ennio Morricone, or however the hell you pronounce his name, the guy who did all the classic, music for spaghetti westerns and stuff like that. The opening credits are absolutely fantastic. Not the credit parts of the credits, but just the ambience and the mood and the atmosphere that is set during the opening credits, and the music, and just the wintry night scene and stuff. And the scene, of course, is Jack Nicholson's character is driving home from this thing where he met with some author or something like that to sign a deal, or publishing deal or whatever. On the way home he hits a wolf and he gets bitten by the wolf, and that kind of, this is a movie about Jack Nicholson becoming the Wolfman essentially, and that ends up sending him into the whole story of this movie, where his kind of journey throughout the 2-hour movie of him slowly becoming the wolf as the moon approaches, to be full again towards the end of the movie or whatever. And I guess, if I'm understanding correctly, that completes his transformation to fully becoming a wolf at the end of the movie. But what's really cool, I think this movie is absolutely fantastic, and in my opinion they don't really make, or at least I don't see movies like this being made anymore, where it's very, very, how like movies now are just so much, it's almost like they're made for teenagers and high school kids, and just, it seems like they're made by idiots for idiots. This movie has a really, really kind of a cool class and a sophistication to it in its overall just execution of what it does. And to be honest, I like the scenes that just feature the characters acting, and talking more than like the wolf scenes, if you will. I would regard this movie as fairly light on, like, if you want to see all kinds of wolf transformation and wolf massacring people and stuff, this isn't going to be the Wolfman movie for you. This is more of a classy take on a Wolfman story. Basically, Jack Nicholson plays this guy. He's like a senior editor at this publishing company, which is just going to be taken over by this billionaire asshole guy. And he's basically going to be demoted and just sent to, either he can just quit or be sent to Europe, or for some crap job with less pay, and obviously moving to a whole different country and crap. So what I find really fantastic about this movie is he gets bitten by this wolf, and it's Jack Nicholson in 1994, so I don't know how old he was at that time, if he was in his 50s or whatever, probably. So it's this guy who's, a little on the older side. He's not a spring chicken. So basically what the movie plays with, and I love this about the movie, is he gets bitten by the wolf at the exact right time of his life, where just basically, I think like a day before or a couple days before, he ends up getting this news about him being fired. And so basically what ends up happening in this movie is this other guy who basically harassed the billionaire guy for his job, who's played by whatever the hell his name, James Spader, is fantastic in this movie, as well as this guy who basically hassled the guy who bought out the company to get Jack Nicholson's character's job. And so what basically happens is, this thing which happened to him where he lost his job, he probably, the way we kind of, Nicholson's character is presented at the beginning of the movie, is like, he's not gonna, ordinarily, at this stage in his life and stuff, he wouldn't have the energy or any kind of drive to deal with this situation, and he'd probably just reluctantly take the other job, or, well, that's what he says in the movie he'd do, is just take the other job, because he's not comfortable being unemployed at his age. And so what's great about this movie is him being bitten at this time of his life gives him the invigoration of, basically reinvigorating him with the wolf juice, if you will, and his eyesight gets better, his hearing gets better, his sense of smell gets better, and he's just invigorated, like he feels 20 years younger, and he just takes on this, and he attacks this kind of this James Spader asshole guy, and basically gets him back, and through just conniving and all, just this extra, this new burst of wolf energy, if you will, takes his life back, when normally, if he hadn't been bitten by this wolf and hadn't been turning into a wolf himself, he probably would have just, gave in and just let, this situation screw him over. But because of his, him having the new wolf juice, he's able to find the drive and the energy and stuff to basically turn around and not literally, but screw the James Spader character, beat him at his own game or whatever. And what's really cool about this movie is this is kind of just this cat and mouse of Spader trying to take his job, and then him wiggling in a way to take over Spader's job before he even gets it, and have, James Spader be, let go altogether, I think, from the publishing firm. And what's really cool is by the end of, they do it's a kind of a cool tale of just the way humanity has over the centuries and stuff been hijacked and been taken out of the wilderness and quote unquote, civilization, and became civilized, and I put that word in quotes. And the majority of the movie is him, Jack Nicholson's character, basically beating James Spader at his own game. But by the end of the movie, halfway through the movie or whatever, also all this other stuff, bad stuff is happening, where Jack Nicholson's character finds out that his wife is having an affair with James Spader, and all this stuff happens right after he's been bitten. So he just moves into a hotel room, and all this stuff happens. Michelle Pfeiffer plays the daughter of the billionaire asshole who's gonna take over the firm where Jack Nicholson has formerly been working. I think she's fantastic in the movie. I mean, obviously attractive, and does a good job of being kind of the sensual, whatever, rich girl or whatever. But what ends up happening at the end of the movie is, of course, since Jack Nicholson ends up biting James Spader, then James Spader becomes a wolf. Obviously Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer, they have an off-screen, presumed sex scene, and we find out at the end of the movie that, of course, Jack Nicholson, whether it's from biting or other means, has given her the wolf juice. So at the very end of the movie, we find out that not only has he turned James Spader into a wolf, but also Michelle Pfeiffer's character into a wolf as well. But what I keep trying to say, and I get sidetracked, is the end of the movie. Basically these characters, James Spader and Jack Nicholson's character, are fighting in a kind of a legal setting throughout the whole movie, and towards the end of the movie, because they were turning into wolves, they're doing it the old-fashioned way, where they're actually just tearing at each other physically as animals. So it's kind of a cool juxtaposition. How do you say that word? Juxtaposition. You know what I mean? Between, like, a comment on the civilized, quote-unquote civilized way to deal with these matters, and in the way that the good old way of tearing each other to pieces. So I think it's an absolutely fantastic movie. Like I say in closing, it's not one that's going to be focused a lot on werewolf transformations or werewolf gore, for that matter. I find that the director's strengths are clearly in dialogue scenes and directing and photographing and actually doing the dialogue scenes. And I feel like the weakest parts of the movie are the kind of the, whatever you want to call it, the wolf scenes or whatever, where you can, there's this scene where he first becomes a wolf or whatever, wolf man at night, and you can clearly see it's a double hopping around, and he does a lot of stuff in slow motion, which kind of works and kind of doesn't. Like towards the end, like I would regard the last fourth of this movie to be probably the weakest, where it's kind of all hell's breaking loose and Spader's turning into a wolf, and it's the coming of the full moon, so you know all the whatever, all the cards are on the table, and you know Spader and Nicholson have their face off or whatever, and you know Spader's trying to attack you know Michelle Pfeiffer character. I don't know any of the character names, so that's how I'm identifying the people in this movie, but I think the movie's pacing is absolutely fantastic, and as I said, it's an all-around it's like a class version of a Wolfman tale. Very highly recommended. I'd give it a very strong 3 1/4 stars out of 4 stars. Really teetering towards 3.5 stars. Tell you what, I'm going to cut it a break. I feel generous today. We're going to give Wolf from 1994 3.5 stars out of 4 stars. I think it's absolutely fantastic, high class, kind of a, you know, more of a mature version of a Wolfman movie. And Jack Nicholson in this movie is absolutely fantastic. I mean, when you watch a movie like this with Jack Nicholson, you forget how much you miss the good old days when actors were, I don't know, where Nicholson seems so much more cool in this movie than any actor is now, and I suppose it's common with generations to think that of the actors that were in movies during their, you know, youth and growing up and stuff. But I mean, Jack Nicholson in this movie is really cool and perfect for this part, and seeing him, you know, with the kind of the wolf fangs and the wolf facial hair and stuff is really kind of a hoot and stuff. So if you haven't seen this movie, I mean, you can see it for free or cheaply, I would, you know, recommend this movie. I think it's really great, with really great music as well, and I guess that's my review of Wolf. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you next time.